Okay, let's see. I hope that, oh no. Last time I couldn't see the comments. I couldn't see the comments last time, so maybe that's a good thing, but I think I would like to see them. Hold on. I don't know. But anyway, I can't I can't wait. Yeah. Okay. Hey, good afternoon, you guys. Welcome to my channel, which is really not my channel, it's our channel, right? It's our channel. I am going to be talking about some really important topics on this channel that pertain to motherhood, but also that pertains to breaking generational cycles of motherhood, and overall just breaking generational cycles of parenting in general, right? It's very important that we talk about the hard conversations because people avoid hard conversations on so many levels that we're not going to be able to get past certain things. We're not going to be able to bond. We're not going to be able to connect if we don't get to the root of some of the stuff that goes on in our parenting styles, in our relationship styles. And hopefully, create more emotionally healthy generations to come. Now, if you don't know anything about me, my name is Tequila. This page originally started off as a relationship family type of page, but I realized that there were some things that I needed to discuss in order for my relationship with my man to flourish. And if you don't know, I'm in an age gap relationship. I'm a millennial. My man is a Gen Xer, so that automatically puts us in a certain realm of family type of situations where we create our own dynamics, just like anyone else would create their own dynamics based on your beliefs, based on your your raisins, just in general, right? So, all right. So this live in particular, as the lives go on, they're going to get more intricate because I'm going to be talking about topics that people are afraid to talk about when it comes to family dynamics. And I hope that it will liberate someone who will watch this video. I hope that people can be honest with themselves and not cover themselves with untruths, lies, and religion. Just make this a place where you can talk about some of the stuff that you've been with, you've been a part of when you were growing up. Make this a safe space for you, even though I know there are some people who are going to be a little bit belligerent for whatever reason that they have. But hopefully this could be a place where you can engage in dialogue and be truthful about the dialogue. This isn't a place where we come to shame. This is a place where we build so that we can continue to connect and gather in community in order for us to continue to grow, right? So this topic today, if you're just coming in the building, make sure you press the like button. Make sure you subscribe because we're going to be digging into a lot of these topics. Some of these topics are going to be really touchy for me, if not all of them, because I've experienced and am experiencing certain things. I feel like the best way for me to have these lives is if I'm being honest about my own personal growth and relationships in my family, family growing up, as well as my parenting styles with my kids. I have two. I have a teenager who's 15, it's a boy, and I have a daughter who's almost 2. So, that's a gap right there too. But anyway, let's jump into this topic, okay? Let's jump into this topic. Surprisingly, although I'm an artist, I'm a little bit nervous about this because I think it's going to create some type of emotional something in my there, okay? So don't, if I have to pause, give me a moment, you know. But anyway, let me know how you're doing in the chat. Say hello. Don't be shy. Just say hello. And just to let you guys know, all of these topics are about just generating conversation, but also hopefully we can respect each other's opinions and learn and grow from one another. Okay, so if you are a parent, make sure you put that in the chat. Let me know how many kids you got, how old they are. Let me know something. Okay, and if you are a kid on this channel of some sort, maybe you can learn some stuff that you can take into your generation, because I definitely am teaching my son some things and he's taking it into his generation, and we engage in conversation. I love that. So anyway, listen, some of us weren't hugged when we were growing up, right? Some of us didn't receive hugs. We didn't receive certain words said to us, right? Some of us didn't even hear "I love you," you know. So now we're in an age where we are learning to raise our kids who feel loved, who hear love, who are growing healthy attachments. For myself as a millennial mom, it's my job to take what I've learned from my parents and their parents, which are my grandparents, and filter that, you know, take what I can from it and process it in order to teach my kids. So one of the hardest things for me is to learn the old school way and learn the new school way and bring it together and hope that it creates something amazing, right? That's the struggle. That's the struggle. But anything worth having is worth fighting for, right? So in this case, let's have some real talk. And you're gonna see me looking down because I have notes here. I'm attempting to be more organized in my lives instead of just coming on and ranting, which is nothing wrong with that either. But you know, so you'll see me looking down at some notes. So okay, let's get to the real talk. All right, did your parents tell you they loved you? Did your parents give you hugs for no reason? Or was love like in your house, was love more like they kept the lights on and dinner was on the table and that was their love? Like what was love in your family? How was it shown? You know, how did it look? Right? How did it look? So if you were raised by a Gen X parent, that's me. I'm 40, but I'm still I'm a Gen X, I'm a millennial, but I'm right there by the Gen Xers, so I have a little bit of that too. But if you were raised by a Gen X parent and you're now attempting to raise emotionally healthy kids, this live is for you, right? This live is going to be for you. However, if you are a Gen Xer, please stay around too. If you're a boomer, please stay around too, because we're all here to learn from each other. We're all here to have dialogue amongst each other so that we can grow, right? So stay with me because we're going to get a little deep. All right, we're going to get a little deep. And if you feel like something resonates with you or whatever, make sure you put it in the comments respectfully, okay? So, oh, also, just because this is a real life motherhood page doesn't mean that dads are not allowed, right? Dads, you're allowed to be in this chat. You are allowed to be in this chat, okay? So this isn't just a mom thing, all right? This is for you too. So let's get to the first thing. I want to break down the Gen X story because I have an understanding of the Gen X story. So this is never about blame, guys. Don't ever blame. You know, this is not the blame world in this case, okay? Let's get a little bit of understanding. That's how we connect. That's how we build community, through understanding, okay? So the Gen X story. Why were they like that? Why didn't they give out hugs? Why didn't they tell you they love you like that, right? Let's get to it. You know, if you think about Gen Xers, they are between the time period of 1965-ish to 1980. And they were considered the latchkey kids, the latchkey generation. Like, what is that? What is that, Tequila? What is the latchkey generation? It's when you come to a home to an empty house. You know, you literally had the key around your neck. You let yourself in. You ate what, you know, your parents told you to eat, was left over, or you wait till they get off, or you literally had the key to your home, you let yourself in, right? That's what they consider the latchkey generation. Okay, so they was basically just kind of parenting themselves, if you want to say. Boomers were working. If you want to go to like a little bit of history lesson, a little bit of history background, the boomers were working, and at that time there was the divorce rates were up. It was all about surviving and survival, so they weren't thinking about emotional attunement. That it was about whether we could put the food on the table, clothes on your back, lights on, whether we are whatever, survival. Okay, so they weren't thinking about how you felt. Feelings, what is that? What is feelings? Okay, and they also come from a certain generation. They were raised a certain way. But before we get to that, right, the divorce rates were high, and they hit hard, and were at an historic peak during the late 70s and 80s, right? And that's right when Gen X kids were growing up, so they just happened to get caught into that. So that parenting philosophy, so to speak, that era, was more of I feed you, I clothe you, what more do you want, right? Think of Fences, by August Wilson. Think of that movie. If you ever seen that movie or read that book, you know that part when Denzel says, like, I feed you, right? I clothe you, right? Don't I do this? What? That was that era of I love you, through these actions. I love you through, how I show you, not necessarily based on emotions. I wasn't raised on emotions. I was raised on doing for you. Okay. Emotional expression was weakness. You know what I mean? Emotional expression was weakness back then, especially for the boys, especially for men. The emotions as a man, as a boy, boy, you asking to be, I ain't gonna say the word because I don't know if I can say it on here, but you asking to be unalived, okay? So, Gen X kids learned not to need too much. Gen Xers learn, uh, don't ask for too much. They learn to figure it out for yourself, type of thing. Because I got stuff to do. I got to go work. I got to go get this money and this food to feed you. You know what I'm saying? So it was all about survival mode. And what happens is they didn't get the hugs like that. They didn't get the I love yous like that, in verbal form. They didn't have a blueprint for what love looked like on a more emotional level. And what happens is that it gets passed along. It gets passed along to the next generation as well, because you've learned that, you've been conditioned a certain way from that, and all you're doing is internalizing that naturally, because that's the environment that you were in, and you're passing it down to your kids, and they pass it down to their kids, and before you know it, you have a generation and cycles of toxicity and avoidance and all of that stuff, right? So if you are millennial, I'm just saying, I'm just giving a little bit of backstory, to your Gen X parents. It wasn't that your Gen X parent was purposely withholding love from you. I don't think they would want to do that. They were giving you everything they had at that time. Their capacity level was their capacity level. And because they were raised a certain way, it kind of was passed along. It's not an excuse, but it explains why things were passed along the way that they did, right? So they didn't have anybody to fill their cup up either, if you want to put it basically like that, right? So what did that do for millennial kids? How did that land on us? Planet Rock landed on us, right? Sorry, I gotta find some humor in all of this, because if not, whatever. What being raised by a Gen Xer who was raised by a boomer who was raised by, it just keeps going. What did that due to millennial kids. Let's talk about it a little bit. All right, let's talk about it. If you're watching the replay of this, just go back to the beginning because I wanted to break down each section, you know, of how Gen Xers were kind of impacted and then how it imparts on us. So, because we grew up and were raised, even though, you know, we was raising ourselves, they were raising themselves, we kind of raised ourselves. Because we were raised by emotionally avoidant parents, millennials grew up craving emotional connection that just left us out of reach. And I'm attempting to put it in certain words because I want it to be understood and not for anybody to feel like they're being blamed or whatever, thrown under the bus. I don't know. I can't parent you guys' emotions. It is what it is. Because there goes the millennial thing again. Millennials grew up craving emotional connection that felt out of reach, right? So many developed this anxious attachment. So having parents who had avoidant attachments, the Gen Xers had avoidant attachments, and their parents had severe avoidant attachment, creates anxious attachment, right? So for the millennials, we're constantly seeking reassurance. We're afraid of abandonment. We want to break out of something, but we don't know what it is. We don't want to be like that, but we also don't want to be too open and too loose, right? With the emotions. We are constantly at a battle of keep the family secrets a secret, which is toxic in itself. And we're going to be talking about that stuff. I had a poem that I wrote about that, but that's a whole different story. If you ain't know, I'm an artist, but yeah. Keep the family business and secrets versus these new kids teaching us, nah, say what you need to say out loud, proudly. So being in between that constantly puts you in this mindset, right? So the millennial mom in me, this is before, you're constantly seeking reassurance, afraid of abandonment, or you too may have an avoidant attachment. You yourself may have an avoidant attachment because that's what you learned and that's what was passed along. So your suppressed needs, just like, Gen X parents, learns to be conditioned and passed along to the next generation. And here I am, right? What happens is you learn people pleasing at an early age. You learn that people pleasing to earn love. You feel like you have to earn love because what you experienced growing up, people not paying attention to you, people always being busy to attend to you, not asking about your emotions, not giving a dang about whether you feel a certain way. Ain't no feelings, right? So you feel like you got to people please as you grow up to earn love. And that's hard to say because at some point I was doing it until I learned better. You have difficulty in saying, I need you. You have difficulty asking for help. You have difficulty saying, I feel this way because, okay, it hurts. It aches to even for me to just say it right now. But I've had to grow from that because within my healing journey, I'm still on it. But within my healing journey, I had to learn a few things, a few coping mechanisms, a few tools to help me get through some things, right? And hopefully these lies will help you guys in some type of way. So also there's this feeling guilty about having the emotional needs because you had parents who didn't show emotion. You had parents who had avoidant attachment. You had parents who were so busy in survival mode that when you did feel things in the inside and you know you feel it, you can't voice it because, first of all, how would they handle it? Because they've never shown emotion outside of probably being angry and frustrated. You know, how do you express emotions healthily? We were never taught that. They were never taught that as well, right? So, as a millennial, I'm here as a disruptor because that's what God wanted me to be, a disruptor of these cycles that continue to happen. Somebody has to break them. Somebody has to bring it to attention. Somebody has to be the ones to say, this is enough. If we really going to build communication, bonds, connections within our family dynamics, then we got to stop going around the issues. We got to stop pretending like everything is okay when it's not. We got to start naming what it is. We got to start having the conversations that are difficult to have. And I think that for many, and this is just my experience and also just me kind of guessing too, some people are not willing to have certain conversations because it's hard for them emotionally. But if you can get yourself out of that and be open to conversation and say, this is not, I'm going to receive what they're attempting to say to me, even though it might come off a certain way. Let me receive what they're really attempting to say to me and not get in my feelings to where I shut them down, shut myself down, be dismissive. You see what I'm saying? Because that's what happens when you have parents who did not have emotions, who did not show emotions, who were not shown how to express in a healthy way. So for the most part, you probably seen abuse, you probably experienced abuse. It's so intricate. It's so it's a very touchy topic because you're opening up wounds that people probably have attempted to overlook, attempted to speed past, attempted to heal from. And what you're going to be doing is reopening the wound, right? You're reopening the wound. And I think that's why a lot of people, especially the Gen Xers and the boomers, don't like to be a but this is just from what I was reading and stuff online too from other people and having conversations with other millennials. Don't want to see us at certain events, at the cookouts and stuff like that because we're disruptors. We're not going to sit and keep pretending like everything is cool when it's not. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about why the uncle here knowing that he's a pervert. Let's talk about some of this stuff. We can't continue to keep things under wraps because is our bond real if we're continuing to hide? Is the bond real? Is the connection real? So whew, that in itself is a lot for me to say. But anyway, to go back, you start feeling guilty for having emotional needs, right? And then you start mistaking acts of service for love because that's all we saw. So when they say, I feed you, I clothe you, right? What more do you want? What more do you want? Don't I give you everything? What more do you want? They're really saying like, these are my acts of service, which is a love language. Acts of service is my love language. It used to be words of affirmation, but it's switched. I wanna see you do, and then you say, right? But you can mistake acts of service for love, and actually, acts of service it is love too, but it just has to line up with the words. You know what I mean? So let's take a breather for a second because there's I got a lot to go through right now. So as a millennial, you struggle to receive affection even when it's offered. You become leery. You can't trust people because the foundation that you know and was raised upon seems shaky, seems shady, seem untrustworthy. Do you see what I'm saying? So many millennials now we're in therapy despite the fact that we were told therapy is for weakness, therapy is for certain types of race, therapy is for this. No, it's not. And many millennials are now in therapy, unpacking the trauma, unpacking the toxicity, unpacking people's behaviors towards us, weird vibes towards us. And we're reparenting ourselves. We are reparenting ourselves while raising kids. Do you know how difficult that is. It is so hard to attempt to do it in a healthy way, because we could easily be like the family members before us. We could easily be like our parents before us and be just as aggressive and be just as dismissive and be just as unavailable and be just as whatever. But we're taking what we were taught, processing it to make sense, not to blame people, not to blame our parents, not to blame our grandparents and all of that, but to say, hey, some stuff stuck with me as I grew up. And now that I'm a parent and I see certain things, why did you do certain stuff? Because I'm not going to do that to my kids. I'm not going to do that to my kids. I'm not going outside to get no switch. No, I'm not. I'm not doing certain things that I was conditioned to, because that was unhealthy. And all that did was suppress me as a human being, right? You may have done the best you could during the era that you could, but two things could be true. That still hurted me. And to say that hurts, to say that hurted you, puts you, makes you vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? It makes you vulnerable. And I think it becomes more telling when you're in romantic relationships and you have kids. When you're in a romantic relationship with someone who has a certain attachment style, when you're, for example, like I said, I'm in an age gap relationship and I'm a millennial and I'm a Gen Xer. I see the difference off break. There is a clear difference in the thinking and how we were raised and all of that. But your raising shows up, your background shows up in your relationship, which is why you have to constantly seek self-development, therapy, be willing to have the hard conversations with yourself, reflect, be willing to adjust for the longevity of the relationship, not because you prideful and don't want to fix your ego, but it's to come together collectively, just like we doing here on this live and hopefully in this community, because I want to build a community where we can come and talk about some hard stuff and reparent ourselves and come together with different generations, Gen Xers, millennials, boomers, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, whatever. I want this to be a place where we could come and have some serious dialogue. And I'm so grateful that I'm in between the vast, so different. It's like one extreme to the next. I'm glad that I'm in between and am a part of the disruptors. It's not always comfortable, but it's necessary, right? So a lot of us spent our childhoods being really, really good so that someone would finally say, I'm proud of you. And some of us are still waiting. I can say that on my end, I have been told that I'm proud of you. I have been told that despite, anything. I'm more close to my dad than I am my mom. However, that doesn't mean that my dad did everything right. However, I'm able to have real conversations with my father, and that's the difference. That's the difference between the two. Because we should be able to have conversations. If you're an adult and your parents are still living, you should be able to go and talk to them openly about some of the stuff. Not in a way that's blaming them, but in a way that says like, that hurted me. I wish those things didn't take place, but I understand. We should be able to have those conversations to not have those conversations, and then someone ends up leaving this planet and you're stuck with all that stuff in your chest, in your spirit, in your mind, in your emotions. It's unfair to you. So it's good to talk about these conversations. It's good to just start them, even if you're afraid to start them, even if you think the person's going to disown you, even if you think it's going to create a whole bunch of calamity. Listen, this is the risk you just got to take. I had to do the same thing. And some of it was really ugly. Some of it had, ended up in phones being hung up in faces. Some of it just is what it is. You just got to go through the process. And some people are willing to adjust for the betterment of building up the relationship. And some people are never going to change. You just have to accept it. they've done their job parenting you, right? Doesn't mean they still can't be a parent if they're willing to admit to their faults and admit to certain things and then say, hey, how can we work to make our relationship and our connection better? That can be said. And then you build from there. But to pretend like nothing was done or nothing was said and not take accountability, that's where relationships between parent and child becomes complicated for no reason, when all you got to do is swallow your pride and ego and just say, my bad, I apologize. How can we move forward? How can we be better? You know what I'm saying? Not everybody willing to do that. The pride be thick. The pride be laying hard on some people, for real. So the thing is that it shows up in your romantic relationship, so you got to start talking about it. It's impactful. It impacts your romantic relationships. And if you have kids, it impacts them too. Somebody got to stop the cycle. So for me, I'm talking about these things with hopes that it does, or at least start some conversations. And if not, that's fine too. But I want to make sure I come on and hold space for people who are willing to talk about it, who are willing to change for the betterment of their family's dynamic, for the betterment of their children, for the betterment of their romantic relationships, for the betterment of their friendships, for the betterment of their close relationships with family members. Like, we got to talk about it, right? So if you're just tuning in to me, my name is Tequila. This is Real Life Motherhood, where we talk about all things generational parenting. We are breaking some cycles. We are having the hard conversations. We are having some real conversations. We talk about some funny stuff on here. I ain't started talking about no funny stuff yet because I've been real serious with the topics lately. But be sure to go onto my page and check out some of the long form videos, check out some of the shorts, leave some comments, get this page popping, because this ain't just for me, it's for all of us. And it's going to be for my kids too as they grow up. All right, so let's talk about the next thing, right? Let's talk about the next thing. It's hot. That light is so hot. So as a millennial mom, as a millennial parent, because this is, guys are included here too, right? What are we doing differently? What are we doing differently? The millennial parenting of overcorrection and finding the balance. Okay, let's talk about this real quick. So if you did have, or you raised by Gen X parents or boomer parents, maybe you were raised by your grandparents or something, you see that emotional availability didn't exist, right? Or was very minimal. But now you're a millennial parent, and millennial parents are the most emotionally aware generation of parents in history. You ain't got to believe me. Go research it. That's why you see people online saying, y'all so emotional. Y'all so out there. Y'all always complaining about something. Y'all always talk about something with feelings. You know why? Do we really want to talk about why? Because y'all didn't. Y'all just buried it. That's not healthy. That is not healthy. And that's why it shows up in being workaholic. That's why it shows up in drinking a lot. That's why it shows up in you doing drugs. That's why it keeps showing up in different areas. That's why your oldest kids ain't coming to see you. That's why. And you're wondering why. That comment alone is not healthy. It's dismissive. So, you ain't gotta believe me, but just go research for yourself. Millennial parents are the most emotionally aware generation of parents in history. Why? Porque why? Because one, we say I love you to our kids. We don't say nothing else. We say I love you. Constantly. We are validating their feelings. And something that we do that we've never seen our parents, our grandparents do, is we apologize to our kids. We apologize to our kids because we know that some of the toxic ways that we do is what we learned and was conditioned to, and we have to take accountability for ourselves. So we apologize to our kids. Like, I ain't mean to do that, or I didn't mean to say that to you, but that was just my first reaction, but I'm gonna do better. That's why. Okay? And I love that for us. I love that for my generation. I love that we are turning the tides. I love that. For real. Even the millennial dads, I'm just proud of y'all and how y'all just working it out, because boys are told not to show emotion. So the fact that y'all out here loving on y'all kids out loud, out here giving them kisses, out here giving them hugs, out here like just doing it. I'm just proud of it. I'm just proud of it on so many levels, because y'all are showing that y'all are not just providers. Y'all out here. Y'all out here. Y'all out here on the emotional tip. I love that. I love it. So anyway, the overcorrection is real, because millennial parents become hyper anxious parents. We start, hyper anxious parenting out of fear of repeating the past, out of fear of being like our parents, out of fear of not supplying our kids emotionally like what we've experienced. So there's that hyper anxiousness. The overcorrection is real, because we don't want our kids to struggle to we struggle to let our kids experience discomfort, because we had too much of it. We had too much discomfort, and we know what it feels like. So we are constantly working on balancing how much discomfort do I want them to have versus coddling them too much. It's a very strange balance. It's very hard sometimes. The overcorrection is real, because we over apologize sometimes and we over explain sometimes. And kids, I just need us to just be the parent. We don't always gotta over apologize. We ain't gotta over explain. Some things are just okay to say, this is what it is, this is what it's gonna be, and that's okay. And that's something that we could take from the Gen Xers and the boomers. I mean, they was extreme with it, but that's something that we could take away from them, because they are real strong about, this is what it is and this is what it's going to be, and let's keep it moving. Follow that, right? So that's something that I can say that I like about it, about their generations, because it just do it and keep moving. The correction is real, because making our healing our kids' responsibility without meaning to is asinine. We're attempting to heal and reparent ourselves while raising kids. And sometimes that could look like being your kid's friend. And that's not what we're attempting to do or be. We're just saying that we understand what it's like being a kid. We understand that you might be feeling a type of way. And if you want to talk more about that, I'm here. Versus us not having that, and us just, pretending like everything is cool from how we were raised and were parented. And as long as you got food and clothes and the shelter and all of that on your back, then what's your problem? That in itself is unhealthy. And it has long-term effects. And that's why many of us are in therapy to this day. And it's also a reason why many of us don't want to go to therapy, because we're ashamed to say that we felt a certain type of way. Because what is feelings? We did it without feelings. We survived. Y'all should be surviving too. Y'all spoiled. Because I got feelings? Because I'm a human being? My goodness. Okay. So, yeah, so we are constantly having to battle between healing, but not being so understanding to where our kids feel like they could just take advantage. So that's the difficulty in being a millennial parent these days. Just being real. So it is our hope that our kids, I have a 15-year-old and an almost 2-year-old, Gen Z and Alpha. And what I realize our kids really need, right, aside from the basics, is emotional availability and healthy boundaries. It's to hear I love you and learn to tolerate frustration. They don't need a parent who's perfect. They don't need a parent who's perfect all the time. They need a parent who's regulated, who won't just go from 0 to 100 when they do something wrong, when they're experimenting in life, when they're growing. They don't need a parent who's, yeah, just they don't need that. They need you to have balance. Okay. Um, so it's important for us that we don't have to give our kids the childhoods that we wish we had. We have to give our kids the childhood they need. And that's the real breaking of the cycle. That's the real generational breaking of the curse. That's the real we're making connection and building different dynamics in our families, right? So I wrote this question down here, and I still have one more page to go because I want to address the dads, right? And then we're going to close out. Be sure to like this video. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so that we can talk more about these things. At some point, I would like to have some people jump on the lives so that we can talk more openly. And I hope that it creates dialogue to where we are all healing and building together. All right. So the question is, what's one thing you do differently from how you were raised? What is one thing you do differently from how you were raised? Be sure to drop that in the comment section when you hear this question. It's very important. It's very important. One thing I would tell you I do off break, which is what I was going to do a short about, which I still am going to do a short about, is the one thing I do differently from how I was raised is I hug my babies and kiss them as much as I can. Even when my son is here, he's a teenager, he's 15, I still be kissing on him and everything. He be like, Mom. I mean, I think he's learning how to just be like, okay with it, but still, I'm going to love and kiss on you any chance I get. Yes, one, because I didn't receive it as much as I wish I had, but also because I just love you and I want to show you that love is action in the form of affection and not just me providing for you. That's one aspect of love, yes, but affection is another aspect of love. And when you are raised without the affection, it shows up in your romantic relationships. And what happens is a whole different life that I'm going to do. It's a whole different life. Yeah. So I want to give dads a little bit of shout out real quick. Because I noticed the dads these days are showing up more and in different ways. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of y'all for that. Because this isn't just a mom thing. Despite what people say, dads are important. Dads are necessary. Dads are important, So the millennial dads that I see who are pulling up and talking about stuff and showing emotion, I'd be like, whoa, I've never even seen this in my life for guys to be showing emotion, for guys to be vulnerable, to be transparent, to be open. This is different. And now I see why certain people are shying away, or, I be watching these IG and TikTok, and not TikTok, IG and YouTube videos sometimes. And I see the men are having like table talks now. Guys, men are having table talks. And it started because millennial men are tired of not being able to show emotion or vulnerability. They're tired of not being able to talk about things that bother them. They're tired of being held to this standard that's unrealistic for any human. And I love that for them. I love to be the fly on the wall when it happens, because I've never seen men be that way. So, and they're bringing Gen Xers and boomers into their conversations, and I love it. And I want to do that here on this page with women, to break some of the generational motherhood cycles. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's not just exclusive to just us women, but primarily that's the focus, right? But this section that I'm talking about is men who were raised by Gen X dads or boomer dads and had it even harder. So all they focused on was emotional stoicism, because that was mandatory, right? In order to be a man, you have to not show certain emotions because it shows vulnerability. Vulnerability is weakness, right? So to see, in particular, millennial dads pushing aside this boys don't cry phrase or this boys don't cry philosophy, it's commendable because that was used as a parenting style back then, and they're breaking that, and I just love it. So, you know, many dads today are the first men in their family to say "I love you" out loud to their sons and kissing on them. And I'm just gonna say, like, in particular, the Black community, because I know that in some other cultures, like Italians, they kiss their sons on the cheek and stuff like that. They do that. They say "I love you," but because I'm Black, I can only speak from this point of view. And also because I used to be a teacher teaching ESL, I've heard stories from my Asian students who had similar stories about not receiving affection from their parents. So this goes deeper than just Black community. This runs across some other cultures and backgrounds and races, unfortunately. But I'm so glad that times are turning, the tides are turning, and that we are no longer promoting toxicity, promoting certain ways that don't help us really connect through the heart. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's time for that to be done with. So this is not small. This is enormous. This is enormous. Y'all showing up emotionally and literally rewriting the generational code. Because for moms, that's what that's I want to say that's what we do, but I'll just speak for myself and say that that's what I work on doing every day when I'm talking to my kids. My actions, I'm hoping that what I do is rewriting, literally, because I'm a writer, is rewriting generational coding and traumas and all of that stuff, right? Just being real. So, but whether you're a dad or a mom, your kids are watching you. They're watching you to learn what it looks like to be a man, to learn what it looks like to be a woman, so that they can take some of that for themselves and use it to mold and shape themselves. They're not going to do everything that we want them to do. They're not going to be who we want them to be. But for me, you see me looking down because I'm looking at my notes. But for me, it's important that I'm myself, but also that I'm modeling love. I want my kids to know what love looks like, because love and discipline, because discipline can still be love if you do it right, So this part was about the dads, so I don't know how I still got back on the moms. But if you're a dad, and especially if you're a millennial dad who hugs and kisses and tell your kids you love them every chance you get out loud, and apologize when you're wrong, you're breaking a chain that goes back generations. So don't ever underestimate that. Proud of y'all. But I'm also proud of us women too. I'm proud of us on a certain level, because every generation has their tasks and their roles that they have to play. So for millennials who are attempting to take the risk, who's willing to take the L to talk about these topics, to bring stuff and secrets out of the woodwork, to heal and to build, more solid foundations, takes a lot of risk. And it could be hurtful. It could be, people could want to cast you out because of it. But that's the risk that you take. That's the risk you take for the sake of, let's not keep having these awkward gatherings. Let's not keep inviting people who are purposely, who are narcissistic who like, let's stop. Like, yes, we can still love people, but can we just stop pretending like stuff it ain't what it ain't? Can we stop doing that? You know what I'm saying? So until we're able to do that in our family dynamics, it's always going to be weird. Your oldest kids are never going to visit you. You know, it's always going to be something because we're going to keep pretending like things are okay instead of choosing to have the hard conversations, right? So I'm at the end of this, all these notes that I took. As I said before, I'm on my own healing journey. I still have some wounds that I am healing. It takes acknowledgement and being honest with yourself first. It takes saying that I do have the wound and that I do hurt from this, from what this person did or didn't do or said or didn't say. It takes saying that to yourself first, and then it takes sitting with it, and then it takes probably talking about it. I journal a lot, so I would advise journaling so you can make sense out of it. And then if that person or those people are willing to have constructive dialogue about it, even better. Even better, because that's how we change the tide. That's how we change the generations. That's how we change what's happening so that it won't continue to happen. You know what I mean? So here's what I'm going to leave with you today. Because we always hear this, but I really want you to hear it. Your parents did the best they could with what they had, with the capacity level that they had, and based on how they were raised, right? And it's okay that that wasn't enough, because I think that most people say, I did the best that I could, but blah, 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 and have an excuse behind it. But no, it's okay that that was not enough. Both things could be true. Yes, you did your best, but that was not enough. And the fact that you're on this live already means that you're doing something that matters. The fact that you are taking the time to sit and listen to this live means that you're willing to take the chance and the opportunity to do the work to make it look different. Whether it happens in our generation, the millennial generation, or it just is a start for Gen Z or Gen Alpha. The whole point is that each generation has a responsibility. And in our generations, we are called to be disruptors of so many cycles that have continued and will continue if we don't continue to speak up. We take the risk every time we say something. Doing this live is taking a risk, but that's okay. That is okay. Because I'm willing to have the hard conversations. And I've had the hard conversations with my parents. Have you? Have you sat down with your parents and said, hey, are they able to sit down and talk to you? Are they those type of people? Is there a way that you can invite them into a safe space to where they feel like you can talk? Or do they gaslight and dismiss or use religion or whatever they do to avoid the hard conversations? Either way, I mean, you can't force people, but you can plant the seed and you can invite them into conversation. And hopefully you got the tools to not attack. Hopefully you got the tools and you read up on, and you invite God and ask God to say, you know, can you give me the words to, you know, how do you want me to present this? Whatever the case you got to do to make things look different, not just for ourselves, but for our kids, so that they won't raise more broken kids. You know, so I'm doing the work now so my kids won't have to be healing from that, from me. You know what I'm saying? So I ain't gonna do everything right, but I'm gonna do my best to make sure I'm getting it. I'm hitting the nose on the nail, as they say. Because even if I did everything perfect, my kids might still want to go to therapy and be like, it was nothing wrong with my mom, and I don't know what's wrong with that. Be like, what? So, yes, These are going to be some hard conversations. So here's my thing. I'm attempting to grow this community. I'm attempting to grow this page. I would love to reach it to monetization. That's my whole goal. But it's primarily to have some conversations about some things that will hopefully impact my kids in a positive way, in a constructive way, in a productive way. So I'm pretty sure you got somebody you know who would love to hear this message, who needs to hear the message. So if you're watching this, be sure to share the replay with those who need it. Be sure to follow and subscribe to the page so that you can know when the next live will be. Make sure you turn on your notifications so you can know that it's there. So you won't be like, Tequila, I thought you was going live. You didn't tell me. It was there. You just see. We're not starting this. We're not gonna build this relationship like this because I did tell you. And also, drop in the comments what's one thing you wish your parents had said to you. What's one thing you wish your parents had said to you? And it's not, you ain't gotta go blaming them, but you can say, I wish they would have done this. I wish I could have heard this. I wish, you know what I'm saying? It's okay to say that too, because we're not going to keep dismissing the fact that you still needed something. Okay, so, and then also you can go tell your parents you love them. You know what I mean? I do that too sometimes. Mostly with my dad, I'm not gonna lie. But my mom is a little more, And on another video, I would like to talk about mental health when it comes to parents, because that can make or break your relationships as well. It's a really tough topic. Yeah. But I hope that you got something out of this. I hope that this is the beginning of something for you. I hope that you start generating certain conversations to strengthen your relationships with your kids, with your parents, with their parents, however the case may be. I'm also hoping and praying that as a millennial who has a Gen Xer as in a relationship with, I hope that it also helps him in some type of way. I hope that my family members who are watching this channel, it helps you in some type of way, because y'all be real quiet on here. I hope that the friends and the artists who follow me on this channel now, I hope that it helps you in some type of way. We're going to be talking more. We're going to be doing some, I think I kind of want to do a little bit of art on here too, because I did write a poem that talks about this. It won't be centered on poetry, but I think I want to start bringing certain pieces to read to you guys so you can hear what it sounds like when I hit the stage and read these pieces, or you can hear what it sounds like to listen to me heal in my poetry, which is not easy. That's difficult in itself. So yeah, I hope I'm looking forward to some comments, some productive and constructive comments, respectfully, and I hope that we can build based on that. This is one of many. You can go back and look at my other lives. You can go back and look at my other long form videos. And if anything resonates with you, be sure to comment, because that also helps the algorithm and for you to see when I go live. And it helps other people find me as well. And if we're going to be a community, we have to build it, right? As we build a community. But it starts with me. So here I am showing up, doing my part. You show up and do your part. But anyway, thank y'all for joining me on this difficult to have conversation. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to comment and let me know what you took away from this. If anything, if you've learned anything from it, don't be shy now. You hear? Y'all be quiet. Y'all be real quiet. But I'm hoping that this will generate some type of something. If you're pissed off about it, let me know that too. If you feel like I'm wrong about something, let me hear that too. Whatever the case may be, just let me know in the comments. All right? All right. Yeah, it's time. But anyway, I might start opening and closing with a prayer. I'm not sure yet, but we'll see. I'm going to go to God and see what he wants me to do about this particular generation of psychology. That's what they call it. But anyway, thank y'all for sticking around all this time. Peace and love.